The notification pinged on my phone at exactly 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday that would destroy my life in the most beautiful way possible. Having fun with friends today. Bored with you. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I stared at Clara's text message, sitting in my sterile smart home office surrounded by 3 monitors displaying code that suddenly seemed meaningless. My wife of 7 years had just reduced our marriage to 12 words and a dismissive emoji. The house's AI system cheerfully announced the temperature was a perfect 72 degrees, as if the emotional climate hadn't just plummeted below freezing. I typed back, "The same friend?" Read at 2:48 p.m. No response. Clara Monroe, she kept her maiden name for her influencer brand, had been having fun with friends a lot lately. Specifically, one friend. Evan Briggs, a trust fund baby who collected luxury cars and other men's wives with equal enthusiasm. I'd met him at Clara's birthday party 6 months ago, where he'd spent the entire evening explaining cryptocurrency to anyone unfortunate enough to make eye contact. "Gideon, you're so lucky to have Clara," he'd said, his hand lingering too long on her lower back. "She's absolutely radiant." Radiant, like she was some kind of Instagram filter come to life. My phone buzzed again. Not Clara, my business partner Jake from our cybersecurity firm. "Client meeting moved to 4. You good?" I was many things, but good wasn't one of them. I was a 41-year-old tech entrepreneur who'd built a multi-million-dollar company from scratch, only to watch my wife treat me like outdated software. In Clara's world of yoga studios, rooftop bars, and sponsored content, I was the boring husband who paid for everything, but never appeared in her carefully curated posts. "Yeah, I'm good," I lied. But as I stared at that unanswered text, something shifted inside me. Clara thought she was playing games. She had no idea who she was dealing with. I hadn't built a security company by being naive about human nature. I knew exactly how to find out what people were hiding. I opened my laptop and accessed our home security system. Clara's phone was connected to our network, which meant I could track her location through the family plan. She'd claimed she was going to the spa for the afternoon, some place called Serenity Springs that charged $200 for someone to rub eucalyptus oil on rich women's faces. The GPS showed her phone at the Meridian Hotel downtown. Room 412, to be precise. "Interesting," I muttered, screenshotting the location data. The Meridian was where Evan had posted Instagram stories from last week, showing off their overpriced cocktails and panoramic city views. What a coincidence. I could have confronted her directly, but where was the fun in that? Clara loved drama, social dynamics, and public spectacle. She was about to get all 3, with a technical precision she couldn't begin to comprehend. I scrolled through my contacts and found Jenna Torres, Clara's best friend and fellow influencer. Jenna was the type of person who collected gossip like vintage handbags. The juicier, the better. She'd been texting me lately about girls' night plans and asking if Clara seemed different to me. Either she was fishing for information or she genuinely cared about my marriage. Based on my experience with Clara's social circle, I was betting on the fishing. I sent Jenna a simple message. "Hey, is Clara with you today? She said she was going to the spa, but I wanted to send flowers to surprise her. Which location?" The response came back in 30 seconds. "What? She told me she was having a quiet day at home with you. I'm at Soul Cycle right now." Perfect. I forwarded Clara's location data to Jenna with a single line. "Meridian Hotel, room 412, thought you should know." Then I sat back and waited for the fireworks. My phone exploded at 4:23 p.m. 24 missed calls from Clara, each voicemail more desperate than the last. "Gideon, baby, I can explain everything. Please pick up, this isn't what it looks like. Jenna is being crazy, she doesn't understand." "How did you find out? Let's talk about this like adults." "I'm coming home right now, don't do anything stupid." Stupid? I was just getting started. While Clara was leaving increasingly frantic messages, I was busy collecting evidence. Screenshots of her Instagram posts claiming to be at various locations, while her phone showed she was actually at hotels. DMs between her and Evan that I'd recovered from her laptop's backup files. Voice memos she'd sent to her friends, including one particularly charming recording where she called me financially useful but emotionally unavailable. The best part was a group chat called Clara's Court, where she, Evan, and 3 other friends had spent months sharing memes about boring husbands and planning what Clara called her exit strategy. They'd even calculated how much she might get in a divorce, complete with laughing emojis. By the time Clara's key turned in the front door at 6:15 p.m., I had assembled a digital dossier that would make the FBI proud. She burst into my office looking like she'd been crying, her usually perfect makeup smudged and her designer outfit wrinkled. "Gideon, we need to talk." I looked up from my computer with the kind of smile that had made our competitors nervous during business negotiations. "Do we? Because according to your text, you were bored with me. I'd hate to bore you further with conversation." "Don't be like this. Jenna misunderstood what she saw." "Did she misunderstand you being in a hotel room with Evan? Because GPS is pretty clear about locations. It's not really open to interpretation." Clara's face went through several expressions before settling on defiant. "Fine, yes, I was with Evan, but it's not what you think." "Really? What do I think?" "That we're having an affair." I pulled up the group chat on my screen and turned it toward her. "You mean like this affair? The one where you've been planning to leave me for 3 months? The one where you calculated my net worth and discussed hiring a divorce attorney? That affair?" The color drained from her face as she read her own words. "How did you get these messages?" "Clara, I build cybersecurity systems for a living. Your password is your birthday. You might as well have left your diary open on the kitchen counter." She sat down heavily in the chair across from my desk, looking smaller than I'd seen her in years. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Then I remembered the meme she'd shared comparing me to a human sleeping pill, and the feeling passed. "What do you want?" she asked quietly. "I want you to understand something very important," I said, closing the laptop and leaning back in my chair. "You think you've been playing a game. You think you've been clever, sneaking around, making plans, laughing about me with your friends, but you've been playing checkers while I've been playing chess. And Clara?" I smiled again, wider this time. "It's my move." Clara spent the next 3 days trying to manage the crisis like it was a public relations disaster for her personal brand. She deleted the group chat, blocked Evan on social media, and even posted a sickeningly sweet photo of us from our anniversary dinner last year with the caption, "Grateful for this amazing man and our beautiful life together. Blessed Dash marriage goals." The post got 43 likes and 12 comments, most of them from her mother and various aunts. Her usual audience of 15,000 followers seemed to sense something was off. When your entire online persona is built on authenticity, even the slightest crack in the facade becomes glaringly obvious. I watched this pathetic damage control effort from my office while compiling what I'd started calling the Clara files. Her digital footprint was a gold mine of contradictions and lies. She'd been living multiple lives simultaneously: the devoted wife for family events, the independent woman for her followers, the party girl for her friends, and the victim for anyone who would listen to her complaints about our marriage. "Gideon," she said, appearing in my doorway Thursday morning wearing the silk robe I'd bought her for Christmas. "Can we please talk about this like rational adults?" "Sure. Which version of you am I talking to? The one who loves our beautiful life together, or the one who thinks I'm a human sleeping pill?" She flinched. I was venting to friends. Everyone complains about their spouse sometimes. Everyone doesn't plan exit strategies and calculate divorce settlements while pretending to be happily married. Clara walked into the room and perched on the edge of my desk. A move that would have been seductive a week ago, but now just seemed calculated. I made mistakes. I was confused and scared about us growing apart. But I want to fix this. Do you? Or do you want to fix the fact that you got caught? Before she could answer, my phone rang. Jake from the office. Sorry to bother you, but we've got a problem. Someone's been trying to access our client database. The attempts are coming from multiple IP addresses, but they all trace back to the same general area. Your neighborhood, actually. I looked at Clara, who had gone very still. When did this start? About 2 weeks ago. We caught it early. No data was compromised, but whoever's doing this knows their way around security protocols. It's not some random hacker. I'll be in within the hour. Clara was staring at me when I hung up. What was that about? Someone's been trying to hack my company, someone who knows where I live. I opened my laptop and pulled up our network logs. Someone who's been using our home Wi-Fi to mask their location. Her face told me everything I needed to know. Jesus Christ, Clara, you gave Evan access to our network? He needed internet for a work project when he was here. When he was here? In our house? She looked away. You were at that conference in Denver. It was just easier than him working from his car. I felt something cold and sharp settle in my chest. You brought your boyfriend into our home, into our bed, and then you let him try to destroy my business. It wasn't like that. Evan would never... I pulled up the security footage from our bedroom, fast-forwarding to the timestamp from my Denver trip. There was Clara, leading Evan by the hand into our bedroom. There was Evan, setting up his laptop on my side of the bed. There was Clara, bringing him coffee in my favorite mug. You're right, I said, my voice perfectly calm. It wasn't like that. It was worse. Clara was crying now, but I felt nothing. The woman I'd married, the woman I'd built a life with, had turned our home into a base of operations for destroying everything I'd worked for. The betrayal was so complete, so thorough, that it had achieved a kind of artistic perfection. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. I never meant for any of this to happen. But it did happen, and now we're going to deal with the consequences. I spent the rest of Thursday at the office, working with Jake to trace the hack attempts and secure our systems. The technical side was straightforward. Change passwords, update firewalls, implement additional authentication protocols. The personal side was more complicated. You okay, man? Jake asked around 6 p.m. when most of the staff had gone home. You seem different today. Jake had been my business partner for 5 years and my friend for longer. He deserved some version of the truth. Clara's been having an affair. The guy she's sleeping with tried to hack our client database. Jake whistled low. Shit. I'm sorry, Gideon. What are you going to do? I'm going to destroy them. Legally, right? Please tell me you mean legally. I looked at him over my monitor. Jake, have I ever done anything illegal? No, but you've also never looked like you wanted to burn the world down. I don't want to burn the world down. Just 2 very specific people in it. Friday morning brought a new development. Jenna called me at 7 a.m., her voice tight with barely controlled anger. Gideon, we need to talk. Are you free for coffee? We met at a small cafe downtown, away from Clara's usual haunts. Jenna looked like she hadn't slept, her normally perfect appearance slightly frayed around the edges. I've been thinking about what happened Tuesday, she said without preamble. About Clara and Evan, and I realized something. What's that? This isn't the first time. I've been covering for her for months, telling myself I was being a good friend, but I was really just enabling her to hurt you. She pulled out her phone and showed me a series of text messages, Clara asking her to lie about whereabouts, to provide alibis, to keep secrets. The messages went back almost a year. There have been others besides Evan, at least 2 that I know of. She's been using me as her cover story this entire time. I felt that cold, sharp feeling spread through my chest. Why are you telling me this? Because I'm tired of being part of her lies, and because— She hesitated. Because she threw me under the bus when you caught her. She told Evan that I was jealous of their relationship and trying to break them up. She made me the villain in her story. So, this is about revenge? Jenna met my eyes. Isn't it for you too? She was right, of course. This had stopped being about saving my marriage the moment I saw those group chat messages. This was about making sure Clara and Evan understood the consequences of their choices. What did you have in mind? I asked. Jenna smiled, and for the first time since Tuesday, I felt like I wasn't alone in this. Clara's hosting an influencer event next Friday. Authentic living in the digital age. 50 of her closest friends and followers plus sponsors. She's been planning it for months. And it would be a shame if her audience learned just how authentic she really is. The next week passed in a blur of preparation and surveillance. Jenna proved to be an invaluable ally, providing insider information about Clara's schedule, her friends, and most importantly, her insecurities. It turned out that beneath the confident influencer persona, Clara was desperately afraid of being exposed as a fraud. She's been buying followers for 2 years, Jenna told me over coffee Wednesday morning, and half her sponsored posts are for products she's never actually used. She's terrified someone will figure it out and report her to the FTC. Interesting. What else? She lied about having a miscarriage last year to get sympathy engagement, and she's been borrowing money from friends to maintain her lifestyle, claiming you're financially controlling and won't give her access to accounts. Each revelation was another nail in Clara's coffin. But I wasn't interested in just destroying her reputation. I wanted Evan to suffer too, and he'd proven more challenging to pin down. Unlike Clara, who documented her entire life online, Evan was surprisingly careful about his digital footprint. That changed Thursday afternoon. I was monitoring network traffic from our home system when I noticed unusual activity. Someone was accessing our Wi-Fi again, and they weren't being subtle about it. I traced the connection and found Evan's laptop, currently downloading what appeared to be financial documents from a cloud storage account. My financial documents. I immediately blocked his access and started recording everything. Within minutes, I had evidence of Evan attempting to steal tax returns, bank statements, and business contracts. The idiot was building a case for Clara's divorce attorney, gathering ammunition to maximize her settlement. But instead of stopping him, I decided to feed him exactly what I wanted him to have. I created a series of fake documents showing significantly higher income and assets than I actually possessed. Inflated business valuations, fictional investment accounts, and fabricated real estate holdings. If Evan wanted to play financial detective, I'd give him the performance of a lifetime. While he was busy stealing fake evidence, I was gathering real evidence of his criminal activity. Screenshots of the unauthorized access, logs of the files he'd downloaded, and timestamps showing the systematic nature of his theft. It was enough to destroy him legally and professionally. Friday evening arrived with the kind of crisp autumn weather that made everything feel possible. Clara had been nervous all week about her influencer event, obsessing over details and snapping at me whenever I asked simple questions about household logistics. "This is really important for my career, Gideon," she'd said that morning. "I need tonight to go perfectly." "I'm sure it will," I'd replied. "I'm sure everyone will see exactly who you really are." The event was being held at a trendy rooftop venue downtown, the kind of place that charged $50 for artisanal cocktails and served appetizers that looked like abstract art. Clara had rented the space for 3 hours, hired a photographer, and arranged for gift bags filled with products from her sponsors. I arrived fashionably late, wearing my best suit and carrying a laptop bag that contained everything I needed for the evening's entertainment. Clara looked stunning in a flowing dress that probably cost more than most people's rent, her smile bright and artificial as she worked the room. "Gideon!" She rushed over when she spotted me, her voice pitched high with nervous energy. "You came. I wasn't sure you'd make it." "Wouldn't miss it for the world. This is your big moment, right? Your chance to show everyone who you really are? Something flickered in her eyes, but her smile never wavered. Exactly. Authentic living, remember? How could I forget? I spent the first hour mingling with her friends and followers, playing the role of the supportive husband. Most of them were exactly what I'd expected. Young women with carefully curated aesthetics, and older women trying desperately to recapture their youth through social media validation. They spoke in hashtags and measured everything by engagement rates. Evan arrived at 8:30, looking smug in an expensive suit that probably cost more than my car. He made a point of kissing Clara on both cheeks and complimenting her dress, his hand lingering on her waist just long enough to mark his territory. "Gideon," he said, extending his hand with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Good to see you again." "Likewise. How's the cryptocurrency business?" "Booming. Always opportunities for those smart enough to see them." "I bet. Speaking of opportunities, how's your consulting work going? I heard you've been doing some interesting research lately." His smile faltered slightly. "Research? Financial analysis, data collection, that sort of thing. Very thorough work, from what I understand." Evan glanced at Clara, who was deep in conversation with a potential sponsor. "I'm not sure what you mean." "Of course you don't." "Well, I'm sure it will all become clear soon enough." I excused myself and found a quiet corner where I could set up my laptop. The venue's Wi-Fi was predictably weak, but I'd come prepared with a mobile hotspot. Within minutes, I was connected and ready to begin the evening's main event. At 9 o'clock, Clara took the stage to address her audience. She looked radiant under the spotlights, every inch the successful influencer living her best life. "Thank you all so much for being here tonight," she began, her voice warm and confident. "When I started my journey in social media, I never imagined I'd have the opportunity to connect with so many amazing people. Tonight is about celebrating authentic living in our digital age, about being true to ourselves and honest with our communities." The audience applauded enthusiastically. I opened my laptop and began uploading files to the venue's presentation system. The beauty of being married to someone for 7 years is that you learn all their passwords, including the ones for their business accounts. "Authenticity isn't always easy," Clara continued. "It means being vulnerable, being real, being willing to share not just our highlight reels, but our behind-the-scenes moments too." Perfect timing. I hijacked the venue's display screens and began my own presentation. The first image was a screenshot of the Clara's Court group chat, blown up large enough for everyone in the room to read. The audience's attention shifted from Clara to the screens, confusion rippling through the crowd. "What is this?" Clara asked, shading her eyes against the spotlights to see what everyone was looking at. The second image was her location data from the past 3 months, showing a pattern of lies about her whereabouts. Hotel visits during spa days, apartment visits during business meetings, and restaurant check-ins that contradicted her social media posts. "Gideon, stop this right now," Clara said into the microphone, her voice sharp with panic. "But I was just getting started." The third slide showed screenshots of her DMs with various men, including detailed discussions about her marriage, her finances, and her plans for the future. The audience was no longer confused. They were fascinated. "Ladies and gentlemen," I said, standing up from my corner table, "let me tell you about authentic living." The room erupted into chaos as my presentation continued. I'd spent days organizing the evidence for maximum impact, building a narrative that was impossible to deny or dismiss. Every screenshot, every timestamp, every piece of digital evidence had been verified and cross-referenced. Clara stood frozen on the stage, the microphone still in her hand, as her carefully constructed world collapsed in real time. The audience was transfixed, their phones out, recording every moment of her humiliation. In the age of social media, public destruction was always a spectator sport. "This is private information," Clara finally managed to say, her voice cracking. "This is illegal. You can't just—" "Actually, I can," I interrupted, pulling up the next slide. These are messages sent from devices connected to our shared network, using accounts linked to our joint email addresses. Legally speaking, this is community property. The slide showed her fake miscarriage posts, alongside calendar entries proving she'd never been pregnant. The audience gasped collectively. Lying about pregnancy loss was a new low, even for an influencer crowd that had seen every possible scandal. Evan started pushing through the crowd toward the stage, his face red with anger. "You're destroying her career over a personal dispute. This is insane." "Am I? Or am I just providing the authentic content she promised?" I clicked to the next slide, which showed Evan's attempts to hack my business systems. "Speaking of careers, how's yours going to survive when your clients learn you're a criminal?" That stopped him in his tracks. The room had gone completely silent except for the soft clicking of phone cameras capturing every moment. "You're bluffing," Evan said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Am I?" I pulled up the network logs showing his unauthorized access attempts. "These are federal crimes, Evan. Computer fraud, identity theft, corporate espionage. The FBI takes this stuff very seriously." Clara had started crying on stage, her makeup running in black streaks down her cheeks. The photographer she'd hired was still taking pictures, either too shocked to stop or too professional to waste the opportunity. "Please," Clara said into the microphone, her voice barely a whisper. "Please stop. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry." "Sorry for what exactly?" I asked, advancing toward the stage. "Sorry for cheating? Sorry for lying? Sorry for trying to destroy my business? Or just sorry you got caught?" The crowd parted as I walked through them, everyone eager to avoid being associated with the unfolding disaster. These were people who lived and passed by their online reputations, and being connected to Clara's scandal could be social suicide. "All of it," Clara sobbed. "I'm sorry for all of it. I never meant for things to go this far." I reached the stage and looked up at her, this woman I'd shared 7 years of my life with, reduced to a crying mess in a designer dress. Part of me wanted to feel sorry for her. Part of me wanted to stop the presentation and try to salvage something from the wreckage of our marriage. But then I remembered the group chat messages, the memes comparing me to a sleeping pill, the casual cruelty with which she'd discussed our relationship with strangers. I remembered coming home to find evidence of another man in our bed, in our home, in our life. "You're right," I said, loud enough for the room to hear. "You never meant for things to go this far. You meant to destroy me quietly, privately, without consequences. You meant to take half of everything I'd worked for and disappear into your authentic life with Evan." I clicked to the final slide, the fake financial documents Evan had stolen, alongside the real numbers showing how he'd been manipulated into building a case based on fabricated evidence. "The problem with being authentic, Clara, is that it requires being honest about who you really are, and who you really are is someone who lies compulsively, steals from friends, fakes tragedies for attention, and destroys everything she touches." The room was completely silent now. Even the photographer had stopped taking pictures. Clara had collapsed into a chair someone had brought onto the stage, her sobs echoing through the sound system. Evan made one last desperate attempt at damage control. This is all taken out of context. Gideon's been emotionally abusive for years. Clara was trying to escape a toxic situation. I laughed, a sound that surprised even me with its coldness. Emotionally abusive? Is that what we're calling paying for everything, supporting her career, and asking for basic honesty in return? I pulled out my phone and played an audio recording from Clara's voice memos, her voice clear and cheerful as she described me as useful but boring, and discussed her plans to upgrade to someone more exciting. Does that sound like someone escaping abuse or someone planning to commit it? Evan's face went pale. He'd been caught in his own lie, exposed as just another accessory in Clara's elaborate deception. The crowd was looking at him with the same mixture of fascination and disgust they'd shown Clara. "You're both sick," he said, backing toward the exit. "This whole thing is sick." You're right, I agreed. It is sick, but you helped create it. You participated in it, you benefited from it, and now you get to live with the consequences. As Evan fled the venue, I turned back to Clara. She was looking at me with something I'd never seen in her eyes before. Genuine fear. What happens now? She asked quietly. Now? Now you get to experience authentic living. No more lies, no more fake personas, no more manipulation. Just the real Clara, exposed to the world, living with the consequences of her choices. I packed up my laptop and headed for the exit, leaving Clara on the stage, surrounded by the wreckage of her carefully constructed life. The audience was already dispersing, their phones buzzing with notifications as they shared the evening's events across every social media platform. By morning, Clara's scandal would be everywhere. Her sponsors would drop her, her followers would abandon her, and her friends would distance themselves as quickly as possible. She'd gotten exactly what she'd always claimed to want: authentic engagement with her audience. As I walked out into the cool night air, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months: peace. For the first time since discovering Clara's betrayal, the cold, sharp feeling in my chest had disappeared. Justice, it turned out, was an excellent cure for heartbreak. My phone buzzed with a text from Jenna. "Holy shit, that was incredible. Are you okay?" I typed back, "Never better." And for the first time in a long time, I was telling the truth. The aftermath of Clara's public destruction unfolded exactly as I'd predicted. By Saturday morning, Clara Gate was trending on 3 different platforms. Her Instagram followers had dropped from 15,000 to 3,000 overnight, with the remaining accounts mostly being bots and hate watchers waiting for her next meltdown. The local news picked up the story by Sunday, framing it as a cautionary tale about influencer culture and digital authenticity. Clara's fake miscarriage revelation had struck a particularly raw nerve, with pregnancy loss support groups calling for her to be banned from all social media platforms. I spent the weekend fielding calls from reporters, lawyers, and concerned friends. My responses were carefully measured and legally sound. I was a betrayed husband who had simply revealed the truth about his wife's deception. Everything I'd shared was factual, everything I'd done was legal, and everything that happened was the natural consequence of Clara's choices. "Mr. Reese," said Detective Sarah Martinez when she called Monday morning, "we need to discuss the computer fraud allegations you've made against Evan Briggs." "Of course. I have extensive documentation of his unauthorized access to my business systems." "We'll need to see that evidence. Can you come in this afternoon?" "Absolutely. I've been waiting for this call." The police station was exactly what I'd expected: fluorescent lighting, uncomfortable chairs, and the persistent smell of bad coffee and institutional disinfectant. Detective Martinez was a sharp-eyed woman in her 40s who looked like she'd seen every possible variation of human stupidity. "This is quite a collection," she said, reviewing the files I'd brought. "Network logs, security footage, financial records. You've been thorough." "I believe in documentation. Mr. Briggs claims this is all part of a domestic dispute, that you're using false accusations to get revenge on your wife's lover." I smiled. "Detective, I'm a cybersecurity expert. My entire business is built on protecting people from exactly the kind of attacks Evan perpetrated against my company. If I were going to fabricate evidence, don't you think I'd be better at it?" She looked at the timestamps and access logs again. "These show systematic attempts over several weeks. That goes well beyond casual snooping. It goes beyond casual anything. Evan was building a financial profile for Clara's divorce attorney, stealing proprietary business information and attempting to access client data. Any one of those activities is a felony." Detective Martinez closed the file. "We'll be in touch. Don't leave town." I wasn't planning on it. Tuesday brought the news I'd been waiting for. Evan had been arrested on multiple charges of computer fraud and identity theft. His mugshot made the local news, showing him disheveled and panicked, a far cry from the smooth confidence he'd displayed at Clara's event. Clara, meanwhile, had gone completely silent on social media. Her last post was still the disaster from Friday night, now with over 2,000 comments ranging from supportive to savage. She'd lost all her sponsorship deals, her upcoming collaborations had been canceled, and her talent agency had dropped her. Jenna called me Tuesday evening with an update on Clara's current state. "She's staying with her sister in Phoenix," Jenna reported. "Apparently she's talking about starting over, maybe getting into real estate or something." "How's she handling the attention?" "Not well. Her sister says she barely leaves the house, spends most of her time crying and refreshing her social media metrics. She keeps saying this will all blow over, that people will forget." "Will they?" Jenna laughed bitterly. "The internet never forgets, Gideon, especially not something this juicy. She's going to be the cautionary tale people reference for years." "Good. You really don't feel bad about any of this?" I considered the question seriously. Did I feel bad about destroying the woman I'd once loved? Did I regret the methodical way I'd dismantled her life and exposed her lies? "No," I said finally. "I don't feel bad. I feel satisfied." Wednesday brought an unexpected visitor to my office. Evan's father, Richard Briggs, was a distinguished man in his 60s who'd built a small fortune in commercial real estate. He looked exactly like an older version of his son, but with the kind of gravitas that only came from actually earning your success. "Mr. Reese, I'd like to discuss my son's situation." "There's nothing to discuss. Your son committed multiple felonies. The evidence is overwhelming. I'm not here to dispute the charges. I'm here to make you an offer." He opened a leather briefcase and pulled out a cashier's check for $200,000. "This covers your legal fees, any business losses you might have suffered, and compensation for your time and trouble. In exchange, you don't testify at Evan's trial." I looked at the check, then at Richard Briggs. "You think this is about money?" "Everything's about money, Mr. Reese. The question is, how much?" I picked up the check, examined it carefully, then tore it in half. "Mr. Briggs, your son didn't just steal from me. He participated in a conspiracy to destroy my marriage, my business, and my reputation. He turned my home into a base of operations for criminal activity. Money doesn't fix that." Richard's face hardened. "Everyone has a price." "You're right. My price is watching your entitled, worthless son face the consequences of his actions for the first time in his privileged life. Your money can't buy that." He left without another word, taking the torn check with him. I felt better than I had in weeks. Thursday evening, I was working late at the office when Jake knocked on my door. "You've got a visitor," he said. "Clara's here." She looked terrible. The polished influencer was gone, replaced by a hollow-eyed woman in jeans and a sweatshirt who looked like she hadn't slept in days. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, and she wore no makeup to hide the dark circles under her eyes. "Can we talk?" she asked quietly. "We're talking now." "Privately?" Jake left, closing the door behind him. Clara sat down across from my desk in the same chair where this had all started with her dismissive text message. "I want to make a deal," she said. "What kind of deal?" "I'll give you an uncontested divorce. I won't ask for alimony, won't try to claim half the assets, won't fight you on anything. I'll disappear quietly and never bother you again." "In exchange for what?" "Make it stop. The harassment, the serious threats, the constant humiliation. I can't go anywhere without someone recognizing me. I can't work, can't rebuild, can't move on with my life." I leaned back in my chair, studying her face. She looked genuinely broken, completely defeated. It was exactly what I'd wanted to achieve. "Clara, I haven't harassed you. I haven't threatened you. I haven't done anything but tell the truth about what you did to our marriage. You destroyed my entire life. No, I revealed your entire life. There's a difference." She started crying again, the same hopeless sobs I'd heard at the influencer event. "Please, Gideon. I'm begging you. I know I hurt you. I know I deserve some of this. But it's been enough. It's been too much. For a moment, I felt something that might have been pity. This broken woman had once been someone I loved, someone I'd planned to spend my life with. We'd shared dreams, goals, intimate moments that had meant something real. Then I remembered the group chat messages, the memes, the casual cruelty with which she'd dismissed our entire relationship. "You're right," I said finally. "You do deserve this, all of it. Every single consequence, every moment of humiliation, every lost opportunity. You earned this, Clara. You worked for it." She looked up at me with desperate eyes. "What do you want from me? What would it take for you to forgive me?" I stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the city lights. Somewhere out there, Evan was sitting in a jail cell waiting for his trial. Somewhere else, Clara's former friends were distancing themselves from her scandal. The influencer event venue had probably already booked their next party, moving on as if Friday night had never happened. "I don't want anything from you, Clara. I don't want your apologies, your promises, or your deals. I want you to understand that actions have consequences, that you can't just hurt people and walk away when it becomes inconvenient." "I understand. I've learned my lesson. Isn't that enough?" I turned back to face her. "No, it's not enough. Because you're not sorry you hurt me. You're sorry you got caught. You're not apologizing for the betrayal. You're apologizing for the consequences. That's not true. Isn't it? If I hadn't found out about the affair, if I hadn't discovered the group chat, if Evan hadn't tried to hack my business, would you be here right now? Would you have ended the relationship and confessed everything?" She couldn't answer because we both knew the truth. She would have continued the affair, continued the lies, continued the systematic destruction of our marriage until she was ready to leave on her own terms. "I thought so," I said. "You can see yourself out." Clara stood up slowly, her movements defeated and mechanical. At the door, she turned back one last time. "I did love you, you know, at the beginning, before everything went wrong. Maybe you did, but love isn't just a feeling, Clara. It's a choice. It's a commitment. It's deciding every day to be honest, to be faithful, to put your partner's well-being ahead of your own convenience. You stopped making that choice a long time ago." She left without another word. I watched from my window as she got into her sister's car and drove away, probably forever. I felt nothing but satisfaction. Friday morning brought the final piece of the puzzle. Detective Martinez called to inform me that Evan had accepted a plea deal, 18 months in federal prison, 5 years probation, and full restitution for the damages to my business systems. "He'll be a convicted felon," she explained. "That'll follow him for the rest of his life. Job applications, background checks, professional licenses. He's going to have a hard time rebuilding his reputation." "Good. You sound satisfied." "I am satisfied. Justice was served." That evening, I sat in my home office, the same room where this had all started with Clara's dismissive text message. The house felt different now, cleaner, quieter, more peaceful. The smart home system announced the temperature was a perfect 72 degrees, and for the first time in months, that felt accurate in every possible way. I pulled up Clara's Instagram account one last time. Her follower count had stabilized at just under 2,000, mostly bots and hate watchers. Her last post was still the disaster from the influencer event, now with over 3,000 comments. She hadn't posted anything new since that night. Her story was over. Her career was over. Her reputation was over. Everything she'd built, everything she'd worked for, everything she'd valued had been destroyed by her own choices and my methodical response to them. I closed the laptop and leaned back in my chair, feeling something I hadn't experienced in years: complete and total victory. They'd thought they were playing games with me, thought they could manipulate and betray and destroy without consequences. They'd made me the villain in their story. They had no idea how good I'd be at it.